Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Season 4 of Wayland Sports Chat. I'm your host, Gabe Leikerman, and alongside me are Aditya Welling and Andrew Hebert. Today, we'll be talking about who has the best offense in the NFL so far, the NBA's biggest elite player going into next season, and who's winning the World Series. Aditya, we'll start with you. Who do you think has the best offense this season?
Yeah, for me, Gabe, I'm going to have to go with the Los Angeles Chargers. First of all, let's start with our quarterback. Justin Herbert is one of the top quarterbacks in the league. He's top 5 in yards, QBR, and touchdowns. To go with that, they are averaging over 28 points a game, which I believe is tied for 6th in the league. And then talk about Justin Herbert's targets. He has 3 main ones that you can talk about. Start with Keenan Allen, who has been, in my opinion, one of the most underrated players in the league for a while now. In 3 of the past 4 years, he's had 1,000 yards and 100 catches. He's just going to grow on that. And alongside him, on the other side, they have Mike Williams, who, again, I believe is kind of underrated. This year, he's taking a more focal point in the offense. I believe he's top 5 in yards, and he's leads the league in receiving touchdowns. Then you have to go to the backfield. Austin Eckler is just always, in fantasy, he's known as a great back, but he's a great back in real life too, especially as an all-purpose player. He's tied with Derrick Henry for the most total touchdowns in the league, and he's top 5 in rushing yards. And then, if you want to go to a 4th option, you have Jared Cook as the tight end, who, only one game he's really shown up on the stat sheet, but he's always a great, especially as a 4th option, a 2-time Pro Bowler with 2 different teams recently. And I think overall, you throw in the offensive line and a new coach, the Chargers are riding high right now, beating the Chiefs, beating a bunch of good teams. They are my pick for the best offense in the league.
Justin Herbert really avoiding that sophomore slump, Aditya. Andrew, we'll go over to you. Who do you think has the best offense in the NFL?
I have the Dallas Cowboys. After a disappointing season last year with Dak Prescott being injured early in the season, they have rebounded here, and they are now one of the best offenses in the league. Let's start with Dak Prescott, the quarterback. He is 3rd in passer rating, 2nd in completion percentage, and 3rd in touchdowns this year. It's just at the top of every single stat as a quarterback. And at the beginning of the last year, you saw what he was doing. He was on pace to break the single-season passing yards record, and he just kept that up this year. Overall, the Cowboys' offense, 2nd in yards per game and points per game. They're scoring 34 points per game. That is just miles above most teams in the NFL, including the Chargers, which are much lower at around 7th. And Ezekiel Elliott, the running back, is 3rd in yards per game and has 5 touchdowns already. I think the Cowboys will look to keep this going, as the last 3 games they've scored 36, 41, and 44. I think they're the best offense in the league.
Great opinions from the both of you. All right, the NBA season is just ahead. It's very close, and there's some players that we need to talk about, some players that could drastically improve from last season or really just their entire careers. This time, we'll go Aditya first again. Who do you think will improve the most in the NBA?
Yeah, for me, Gabe, I'm going to have to go with Christian Wood. And a lot of people might say his breakout year was last year, where he averaged 21 points a game, which I believe was top 40, and almost 10 rebounds, which I believe was around top 20. But for me, because of the injury-riddled season last year, I won't count that. I'll say this year is the season people recognize him as one of the top big men in this league. Let's start out with his shooting percentage, 51.4%, which was top 30 in the league. He only played 41 games, which is half the season. When he comes back healthy in his 2nd year as the established big man in Houston, I'm going to have to say that there's no doubt in my mind he's going to come up big again. Especially with the Houston's more devoid of talent now that James Harden's gone. He can take a more focal role in the offense. To go along with that, shot over 37% from 3-point range, which for a big man is fantastic. Averaged 1.2 blocks a game, which is top 20 in the league, which makes him a fantastic 2-way player, and was top 40 in PER with over 20, which is overall player efficiency rating, which further illuminates how good he is, both offensively and defensively. I think he's going to make a big leap this season, and that's my pick.
Christian Wood, Aditya, an incredible story and an incredible player. Andrew, what about you? Who do you think will take the biggest leap?
Well, I have a bit of an unorthodox pick here. I'm going with DeJounte Murray from the Spurs. Now, the main reason for this is that DeMar DeRozan, who was the leading scorer on that team last year, has left for the Chicago Bulls, as well as LaMarcus Aldridge, who also left for the Brooklyn Nets last year, and Patty Mills this offseason, left also for the Brooklyn Nets. So there's a big scoring hole on this team, and who's going to fill it? I think it'll be Murray. He was the 2nd leading scorer for the Spurs last year, and one of their best young players on the team. I think he is primed to step up and take that role. Last year, he had 16 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, and now he'll have a lot more volume to go along with that, and I think it'll take a big leap forward. Going back to what Aditya is saying, Christian Wood, I mean, how much more can he really improve? And we're talking about most improved player. He's already, as you were listing all those stats, he's already so good. How is he going to improve that much more, especially with Jalen Green being the focus point of that offense? I don't think that he's going to, I think he's a really good player, but I don't think he's going to be most improved player.
Great opinions from the both of you. All right, now the MLB playoffs are actually currently going on, and who do we have winning the World Series? It's a question on all our minds. Aditya, who do you think will win the MLB World Series?
Gabe, I'm going to have to say a team that I think should be the obvious pick and the overwhelming pick, but for some reason they're not. That's the San Francisco Giants, who led baseball this year in wins with a 107, their best in franchise history. To go along with that, they were in a tough division, so you can't say they got any fluff wins because they were playing the Dodgers, who many are saying is the World Series favorite right now. They're currently tied with the Dodgers in the NLDS with a winner-go-home game coming up this Thursday, so obviously we'll see what happens there, as that might end the Giants' chances. But I say they pull out of that with a win and go on to win the World Series. To go along with that regular season, some stats from there are just astounding. They're second in baseball in overall run differential. They were the only team with 50 wins, both on the road and at home. That just shows how experienced they are. They're the oldest team in baseball, which a lot of people might see as, detract from how good they are, but I would say it helps them because that shows how much playoff experience they have. They have Buster Posey, a former MVP who was on those championship-winning teams from the early 2010s. And that's only their offense, where they're second in home runs, third in walks taken, and fourth in both slugging and OPS. So they're disciplined and they can hit with power. And then you have to go to their pitching staff. They're second in team ERA, which is just amazing. They're top 5 in opponents' batting average and are tied for the most saves in the league, which shows not only do they have a dominant starting staff, but they have a fantastic bullpen. I think the Giants are going to win their 4th World Series in this century.
They've been a dominant team in DT, I agree. Andrew, let's go over to you. Who do you think will win the World Series this season?
I have the Houston Astros, and that might seem like an obvious pick, but it's the right pick, again, just because of their overall stacked roster. They have Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Yuli Gurriel, and many other players that anchor that roster, and their pitching staff, dominant ace Lance McCullers, is going to really propel them to the World Series. And going back to what Alicia is saying about the Giants, I think there's that team every year who has a great record in the regular season, but it comes playoff time, they can't put it all together and do well like the Astros have been doing recently in the playoffs. I think they are, you're talking about Buster Posey. He was in the playoffs like 7 years ago. The Astros were just in the playoffs last year and made a championship run, and now they're looking to do that again. I think they will.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I know you're talking about the Giants with, obviously some older players like you talked about, Buster Posey, who hasn't been in the playoffs in a while. But I'd say, your point about some teams being a fluke in the regular season might hold water unless they win 107 games. I mean, that's just astounding. That shows that they can't be a fluke. You can't win 107 games in my opinion, a tougher league in the NL and one of the toughest divisions in baseball with the Padres, who I know fell off later, but have some great players like Fernando Tatis and the Dodgers, who I talked about. I don't think the Giants are a fluke. I don't think there's any evidence that they're a fluke. And I think they'll show that this Thursday and in the Fall Classic coming up. Meanwhile, the Astros, I don't think they had a lot of lulls in the season, which is why they finished with under 100 wins. The Giants just did not have many lulls till the end of the season, where they might have taken their foot off the gas. I don't think the Astros have enough to pull out another series win or 2 series wins at this point with the ALCS and World Series. I think the Giants have enough to get it done.
I have to respond to that just by acknowledging the mental toughness of the Astros. Last year they were the cheating allegations, the whole scandal just engulfed them. I think they've really rebounded from that. They've moved on from that, and now they're not focused on that anymore. They're still facing those accusations from teams around the league that they're still cheating, but it's not. I can see it's not phasing the players, and they're still keeping their mind on the game, and that's huge with the World Series team. If they want to win the World Series, they have to stay focused and not let outside distractions happen. And I think they're doing that so far.
All right, interesting opinions from the both of you, but we're gonna cut this episode off. Thank you for watching Wayland Sports Chat, the first episode of Season 4. I'm Gabe Leikerman, and alongside me have been Aditya Welling and Andrew Hebert. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.